You ready? Now, the cool thing about Scarefest is that it's pretty much, if you saw that line this morning, has become, I'm pretty sure, the #1 horror convention in the United States. And by God, it's in Lexington, Kentucky! Which is the most amazing thing, and the reason why they like coming here is because all of you. So this is the reason where I want you to stand up and scream for these people. Come on, give it up for our Day of the Dead cast. I'm going to read your names out as we go, okay? Ready? Tom Savini, Randy Patel, Ray Parnell, Terry Alexander, Joel Pomeroy, John Amplis, Mark Tierno, and David Gordon. Come on in. You're talking to me, sir. Or me. We have a couple more chairs here as well. We've got one here, wherever you like. Sit, have a seat. All right. There we go. Before we get started, I will take the first question, if you don't mind.
All raise your right hands.
And the first question,
If
if you don't mind, will you guys take a moment and talk about, because we really, if you were here for the Creep Show last night, wanted to talk a little bit about George, and it didn't kind of work its way into it, but will you take a second and talk about the George Romero Foundation?
Oh, sure. Go, Lori.
The George A. Romero Foundation is a foundation that supports young filmmakers and writers out of the University of Pittsburgh. And they have George's archives at the Hillman Library, which is part of Pitt. And so they raise money. So even $5 would be great if you go on. It's called GARF, G-A-R-F. And if anybody would like, love George and make a tiny donation, it would be great.
Can they do that here?
You know what?
At that table?
No, that's, that's too bad, yeah.
But they can give you cash, right? I'm just joking.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
All right, so you guys ready to get started? Who wants the first question? If you don't mind, line up right here in front of the
All those that
microphone.
believe in telekinesis, raise my hand.
All right, who has our first question? Come on up to the mic. Oh, you guys are nervous?
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Who has the first question? Come on.
Somebody right there wants to speak.
Yeah, I just kind of want him to use a microphone because we're live streaming. Yeah, if you don't mind.
I love the whole cast. This is for Savine. What was your favorite zombie you worked on? Day of the Dead.
Favorite zombie? Well, the helicopter zombie gets applause, when his head comes off,
Different movie, Tom.
What are we talking about?
Day of the Dead.
What's
It's
my
not
name?
like
That is a remarkable fact.
Who are you people?
Nonetheless.
Okay, what are we talking about?
Your favorite zombie you worked on?
In,
Day of the Dead.
well, you should have told me that. In Day of the Dead,
Yeah.
That's where Bob is.
Do you remember that film?
I'm trying to remember it myself.
Yeah.
Dr. Tom.
So long ago.
Beef treats, maybe?
What about Bob?
Bub was fun, yeah. But wait, no, Day of the Dead.
Here we are.
Terry Townsend's head off. There's so many.
Oh, yeah.
When Joe Pilato gets torn apart.
Joe Pilato, we tore Joe, but he's talking about zombies.
Oh, yeah.
Well, here I
You
am.
have two of them here.
Well, okay, I'm proud to have worked on Bub because Bub is one of the standout zombies that exist in the Dead movies. David Emke in Dawn of the Dead. That's one of the best zombie performances ever, okay? Next to Bub. Bub was excellent.
Excuse me, my mother.
Thank you.
Am I still
My
talking about
zombie
the same
mother.
thing?
Very important.
Hey, I'm talking here!
All right, Shy Bunch, come on. You feel free to go ahead and line up right here. We're going to go through the questions, and we'll try to get through most of them in the next 40 minutes. Yeah, go ahead.
How does it feel coming here 38 years later and talking about Day of the Dead?
Yeah, let's start right here. Do you mind going through, and then we'll go all the way down.
Sure.
How does it feel though? I mean, it's a lot because this is a question people get all the time, right? How does it feel? Because you don't know what you're making at the time. I mean, you kind of know, but you don't know. And then 38 years later, it's here. We're here.
It's very, very, very special to be appreciated 38 years later, because I always said Day of the Dead was ahead of its time with the social commentary and its characters. So I'm glad y'all are here 38 years later.
Absolutely, because when Day of the Dead first came out, a lot of you know, it was
Excuse
not
me.
accepted. Sorry, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm the invisible man today.
I told you we're gonna have a good time.
In Pittsburgh, we call each other jagoffs. We all have jagoff humor. Sorry.
No, go ahead,
No,
Jag
no,
off.
no, go ahead.
How does it feel? Good. This is where you come to be appreciated, and we feel very appreciated, especially that standing ovation you gave us when we walked in 38 years later, so thank you kindly.
Yeah, and also the appreciation for you guys, honestly, because where would we be without you loving this film? And so I really love meeting the fans, and because, like I said, when it first came out, it was like a dud, and we knew we had a good product. We loved working with George, we loved doing it, and when it came out, we were so disappointed.
It's
so.
his favorite movie.
Yeah, I
Dave,
know, yeah.
of the trilogy, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a family. These dear people to the left and the right, I performed with several of them in different, like, theater or movies, but I met most of them right here, and little did we know. And, to tell you the truth, I would have rather had a real person speaking role, but, when George and Christine offered me, lead female zombie in a movie, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want anyone to know. But this is the film that resonates, for my life. This is my 15 minutes of fame, and I do feel very special to have been selected, and George asked me how do zombies move, and I had an idea of how zombies should move, so I showed it to him, and it was based on some theater class that I took, a Grotowski that was with the animals and they're hungry and everything. And he says, oh, that's great, just do that, okay? I said, okay. And that's, how zombies move now. Or in this movie in particular, we were hungry.
Somebody brought up the appreciation factor here, and it certainly is reciprocal both ways. Without you guys greased this wheel that we're on, and we are so appreciative of you, and we love coming and meeting you, and it's a real pleasure. For a long time, I mean, there's a group of people that I've been fortunate enough to work on 6 movies with George Romero, and to make hundreds of friends, both in the cast and crew. And so coming and being able to share our experience with you and hearing your experiences and your appreciation for George's work, it's a dream come true. Oh,
It's working?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I find it to be a great gift and a privilege. And to be surrounded by so much enthusiasm is eye-opening and enlivening. It never crossed my mind back in 1985 that this would be, this would continue to progress. I agree with what everyone said, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah. And so many people have come up and come up to me and say, I saw this film when I was 13, and it made such an impression on me. And that really just, and I just want to thank you. And it just is, like what John was saying and Charlotte, it's incredible. And thank you.
Who is our next victim? Come on down.
helps here. I think the mine location is one of the most striking locations in any movie I've ever seen. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like being there?
We went into the mine at 6 in the morning. We came out at 9 at night. We didn't see the sun for 3 months. And if you blew your nose, it came out black.
And that's why I have a raspy voice.
Yeah.
And we began to wither.
It was a constant 55 degrees down there, you know, so we had mine fever. We really had mine fever. I remember getting in a golf cart, because we used to travel around the mine in the golf carts, and I saw Tasso walking, and I just ran over him. His footprints are on the ceiling. Because we had mine fever, you know, we just did crazy stuff.
Is it true you all got sick? And
Oh,
all
yeah.
had to do the B12 shots? Is that
We
all
did, and they were B12, I promise. But the one scene where, at the Ritz, I had 104-degree temperature and a huge pimple. They had to, they had to reshoot the scene the next day. Oh, God, because I was so sick.
No?
Yeah, I was. Were you sick?
I can't remember.
I got a periodontal disease from wearing my teeth that Tom made for me. Yeah, I did. Well, he had to make the prosthesis. Is that what it's called? Yeah. I still have them. But, you know, because you take them in and out, and no one wants to talk to you because you're ugly and you can't eat, so you have to hold them in there. There's no place to put them, and your hands in, and then you put them back in. And
We made hundreds of teeth, small, medium, and large, and hundreds of appliances, small, medium, and large. So if you walked in, we would know what appliance to throw on you, and it saved a lot of time. The teeth, we just put alginate in there. It's what dentists use to make impressions of you. And it dries like in 5 minutes. So if you stick it in with alginate, it dries, and you've got some suction, you've got some support. And they weren't always sterilized. You know?
well, you would be wearing, they
wear
were
them all
mine,
day, yeah.
but your hands would be dirty because they were going to the bathroom. I don't remember that being so easy when you were on location and
I
shooting
bet.
and washing up and stuff, you know. So it was kind of dirty, but
There
it
were
was
hundreds of
mysterious.
zombies,
It was very
hundreds of
mysterious.
No, back then, before we went into the cave in the darkness, we had to wear masks. And we take off the mask and do the scene like we had to do about 2-3 years ago during the pandemic. So it was very difficult to shoot, but it was real. We got off.
You could see the particles in the air, you know, and the water was dripping. There were 27 miles of lakes in this cave, so everything was so damp.
And bats.
Yeah, we had to make fake bats, Lou, for the movie. There were real bats in there, but they had to make fake bats.
But I think in those days, we weren't as cautious, you know. I don't know, there weren't as many safeguards as there are today.
Yeah, and because we went down when the sun had not yet come up, and we came up after the sun had set, I decided, well, I felt I was withering. And so I decided one Sunday on the day off to go for a walk out into the Pennsylvania fresh air. And I turned off into a small road and was heading into the woods when I realized, oh, this is the first day of deer hunting in Pennsylvania. I headed home.
Anybody else have
All right,
a
yeah. Next question. Who is our next victim? Oh my goodness, this is the shyest damn crowd.
Nobody else is coming, so I'll give you a couple
Yeah.
easy ones.
Come right up, sir.
So first easy one for everybody. Like you were saying, you had props. You had multiple things that you had to carry with you. Was there anything that you took from set that you kept, like nobody else knew, that you might have taken as a
You want us
souvenir?
to admit to crime?
Right.
We're not that.
I'm recording, so better be ready.
I did. I had some stuff. I had my costume, and I had the little model of not the Ritz, but the cave, the corral. And I didn't know that it was going to become well known and all. And a person came to me, a fan, and said, I said, "You want it? Go ahead and take it." I gave him everything. That's a.
Well, we had 200 background zombie masks made for background zombies, because we would make up people as zombies with appliances and stuff. The costume department would make up a bunch of zombies, and the background zombie masks were supposed to be way, in the background. But every time the press came, to interview George, he was surrounded by the people wearing the masks. And the masks were crummy, you know, we had to put hair on them, you know, and today I would have made just face masks. These were full head masks, you know. And so the publicity photos around George with the zombies were all these stupid looking masks. You know, we hated that. But I kept all those masks. And they went for $7,000 each at the South Bay auction. Yeah. I had 16 left because I gave a bunch away to the cast and stuff. You know. But I didn't realize they were $7,000 each.
I better hold on to my teeth then.
You could, really. Now that's it.
Put them in a shadow box.
With a little light, yeah.
Anybody else? Anybody else pilfer or steal anything?
Weren't the effects amazing though? They were all practical right before CG, so Tom and his crew did a great job, yeah.
Is that a question coming?
Yes.
All right. Aren't you the Phantom of the Opera?
No,
Oh.
I'm the Ripper.
No,
Jack's back.
That's a personal dig.
No,
I
it is
promise.
not.
Huh?
It
Listen.
isn't a dig.
Because you said the Ripper, I can't do it right here. But I usually get on my knees and apologize to the crowd for making that fucking movie. My friends call it Jack the Ripper does Hamlet. The dialogue was atrocious.
It was not a dig at you, Tom. It was just my own little creation. So, were there any practical jokes on the set? And if so, were you a participant or were you the victim?
Both. If you don't mind me jumping into this, I would set up explosions in the makeup effects room, near the door, near my table. It would be a flash pot, you know, a flash pot with smoke powder and magnesium for sparks, and it was very loud and huge, okay? So the producer would come in and start talking to us, and I had the button under my, so when he walked out, just before he hit the door, I blew him up, you know, I made an explosion. And he did the standing fetal position, and it just scared the hell out of him. So he secretly went to the effects guys, and we didn't know this. Now, they gave us a car to go back and forth from the hotel, a station wagon. We called it the Death Mobile, because the tires were bald and the steering was loose. Anyway, so we got in that car to go back to the hotel one night, and smoke started billowing out of the dashboard. And there's 7 of us, you know. And I remember Vulich was screaming, "We're gonna die!" And he's crawling out the window, you know. And it was that producer that we blew up. He went to the effects guy and he rigged an explosion in the dashboard. And it just scared the hell out of us.
Anybody else?
Have a practical joke?
Yeah, anyone else?
You have to do horrible things to one another?
Well, when you do special effects, the outlet for practical jokes is enormous, you know. So.
Well, this isn't a joke, but one day after shooting, it was Halloween, which is coming up now, and it would take a long time to take my makeup off, and I didn't have anyone taking my makeup off, and I was in a hurry to get home. I had a small baby at home, and I wanted to get home. I lived about an hour away. In those days, they had toll gate attendants. So I thought, well, I'll go home with my makeup, and it's Halloween, it'll be fun. So I'm driving, and you get to the toll gate in Beaver, or wherever it was, on the turnpike, and I go to give her the money, and I swear to God, she had a heart attack. And of course, my son was screaming, so you have to be careful when you have makeup like they put on you. It looks real, you know, so it's scary.
Go ahead.
Oh, so I understand that Twilight of the Dead will be coming out in a few years. And I was wondering if all the original cast from every film are going to make an appearance in that, or where was the direction of Twilight of the Dead? Because I was
no, it's kind of in limbo. They're still looking for money to make that film.
Okay.
The script is amazingly stupid. I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying that, but I don't want to be involved. It's unbelievable that they're telling the people that it's the newest thing from George Romero. George only wrote the first 6 pages, and those pages were pretty damn good. But the rest of it is amazingly stupid, I'm sorry.
Well, okay.
But who knows? I mean, it could come up, I mean, they've hired a director, and he's a damn good director, you know, and that's what changes everything, you know. He's gonna go through that and probably think, no, this is stupid, let's change it. You know, the movie could become, you know, something special, but to call it right now, what they're calling it is it just offends me personally, you know. But who knows? It could be great, you know, because you never know.
Well, what about all the Day of the Dead remakes? I mean, it had nothing to do with our Day of the Dead. There were so many remakes.
Thank you.
Sequels to the remakes. All right.
There you go.
Okay, first of all, I love every one of you up there.
We love you.
Oh, thank you. I had a big crush on you. I think I told you that yesterday.
Yes, you did. Come back anytime.
Okay. Is that okay, honey? No. When I was 16 years old is when I saw a George Romero movie for the first time. And he became really important to me. And sir, you too became very important to me. I know more about your life than you probably remember.
We're gonna have to talk about this.
But George became an inspiration for me, and I ended up becoming a director and a playwright because of that. So who were y'all's inspirations to do what you do? I know you are a big Lon Chaney fan.
That's it in a nutshell, yeah.
Yeah, but who were your inspirations? Who were really the people that, you know, got you interested in what it is that you do? And what you do is so important. I'm constantly trying to explain this to my boss, who's like, you know, horror's not valid. And I'm like, have you ever seen a George Romero movie? It's so valid. So who were your inspirations?
My father, Chili Billy.
Chili Billy.
Yeah, he had a horror show in Pittsburgh, and he was one of the first horror hosts in the country, actually. And so George came up to him and said, I'm making this little movie, I'd like you to be in it. It was Night of the Living Dead.
Right.
And so I watched my dad, he was such a pro, and I really admired him, even though acting was a little bit different than what he did, you know. I always looked up to my father. His name was Bill Cardell, Chili Billy.
All of Pittsburgh loved Chili Billy
Everybody.
Cardell.
They kept, when Saturday Night Live started in '75, Pittsburgh wouldn't have any of it because it was in the same time slot as Chiller Theater that Bill hosted. And so for 2 years, we didn't see Saturday Night Live in Pittsburgh. It was not we loved Bill too much. I started as a young actor, and I was 10 years old. My uncle got me involved in community theater, and that's where I kind of started. Then I went to school for theater, and it was in 1976 when I graduated from college, the year I graduated from college, that George, for some reason, came to see a play I was in. And it was from that play I was cast in the role of Martin. And so George certainly was a huge inspiration for my opportunity to become a film actor. And so George was the guy for me, ultimately. Yeah.
Me?
Yeah, both of you. I mean, you guys were both so important to me.
Well, George came to my high school when I was a sophomore looking for an actor to be in a movie called Wine of the Fawn. It never got made, but he picked me out of the whole high school, and we did a screen test. And that was my first encounter with him. So when I heard he was doing Martin, I wanted to audition for the vampire. He was already cast. But I showed George my portfolio. He says, oh yeah, we can use you on this gig. And I wound up doing the effects and the stunts and playing a part.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all again.
Well,
Thank
so
you.
to answer the question, though, I'm kind of curious for the rest of you, where you started your inspiration.
Okay. Go ahead, Mark.
No, you go ahead, John.
Yeah, I was in a few plays at school, and that kind of got me interested in it. But after I left school, I tried to be an accountant, for God's sake. I spent 7 years working in an office, but I still stayed involved with theater, and then I went to drama school in London. and did mainly stage from there on. You know, I think Day of the Dead was my second movie. Heaven's Gate was the first one. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm similar to John. I mean, I did community theater and when I was young, preteen, teen, and then went to drama school, and I was started working a regular job, and George and Chris were auditioning for Night Riders. And I auditioned, and they gave me a role of the courier, sort of similar to yours.
Yeah.
But I said, well, I'm working full time. I'm going to know these people, so I turned it down. But they said, well, we'll make you. They knew I was a magician too, so they said, we'll make you the troupe of magician. And I would come. I was working several days a week, but not full time. And from there, that was the first film I did.
Yeah,
I mean, I did student films, but not this. It's not the same.
Yeah, George really liked using theater actors. All of us
Yeah, we all
went
have
somewhere. I
background
went to
in theater.
CMU. George went to CMU. A lot of us, went through. We're all trained, and he would see us in plays. Actually, I mean, he saw me in a play in New York, and that's how he gave me the parts. So.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Well,
Anybody else wanna share?
like a lot of people in high school when I was younger, I did a lot of dance and musicals. I choreographed shows at my high school and went to college, to the University of Wisconsin. The first day I was there, I took a film studies course, and they showed this black and white film. And this isn't in Pittsburgh, this was in Wisconsin. And it was Night of the Living Dead. And I thought, oh, that's an interesting film, low budget. I was really interested in making films and I ended up in Pittsburgh and then continued doing theater and going to graduate school in theater. And I was in a film, my first film was called Effects. That was some of the same people that George had mentored and worked with, like John Harrison, who was his AD on Day of the Dead, and was with the director. He cast me in a movie that they made in Western Pennsylvania called Effects, and Joe Pilato was in that, and that's when I met Tom. Tom was in that also, and so it just became, you knew people, and in those days, it wasn't so much agents, it's just like who you knew, and that, and that's how I ended up in, as a zombie. It wasn't really like I said, I would have rather had a real role, but they didn't have anything, so they offered me this, and, and all those people that I'd worked with before were involved in the movie, so that's how we all kind of ended up where we were. But I think my initial background was in dance and movement, and then it became theater, and then film.
But like Jarlath, I had a strong theater career, and my mentors, and one of my mentors was Mike Nichols, and we did a play at Lincoln Center called Streamers.
Oh, yes.
And it was an anti-war piece, and we were all sitting around the barracks waiting to go to Vietnam, so it was very tense. And this other guy comes in the room, and he starts confronting the guys in the barracks, and he gets so mad, he cuts the guy's hand and he squeezes the blood from the knife, and the audience goes, ew, like that. So he walks up stage and walks back and challenges the guy and goes, changes the knife, and he stuck him. The audience didn't know whether he was stabbed or not. So he goes a few feet away, comes back, drops to his knees. Now, he goes like this, and in his arm was a tube of blood.
Oh.
And he took out the tube, and I'm saying, hey man, are you all right? Are you all right? And he comes up, and the blood comes out of his mouth, and the audience went nuts. We had people fainting. We had people saying, is there a doctor in the house? My husband. So that inspired me to, it was a horror play, actually.
I saw him in it. I saw that production.
Oh,
It was amazing.
Oh,
I have to
really,
tell you.
really brilliant.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right,
Here's a guy.
Sir, come on up.
First of all, guys, it's a big pleasure to be standing in front of you guys.
All right.
I have two questions, if you guys don't mind. The first one is going to be for Mr. Savini. me personally, I think the Day of the Dead, when it comes to the actual makeup effects, is like your crown achievement. I mean, it still holds up to this day. Especially like in the beginning, definitely. Especially like the beginning, like the first zombie with the tongue hanging out. I mean, it's incredible that it's not CGI, that it's purely talent. What do you think about Day of the Dead as far as everything you've done, like Maniac or some of the Friday the 13th movie? Like, what's your comparison? I mean, because that's my opinion, and a lot of people might share it.
Yeah.
But what's your opinion when it comes to the actual makeup?
I think it's between Day of the Dead and Creepshow as to being my masterpiece. Okay. I won a French award for Day of the Dead. I can't even read it. I don't even know what it is.
Cinema du
That's what it is. So I won that award for Day. I wasn't there, but I think it's my masterpiece. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then the second question is, I'm a big movie buff, and the more you love movies, the more you care about what happens behind the scenes. I'm a big Quentin Tarantino fan, and I know George Romero had a very limited budget, and he did a lot with a little. And this is for the whole cast. When it comes to the directors that you guys have actually made movies with, how does George compare with a limited budget as far as getting the most out of the movie, getting the most out of everything with a little bit? Because I've heard that in Day of the Dead, there was supposed to be a 2-layer, not just the underground, but an above ground. And that had to be completely taken out.
Well, the original script was as thick as a phone book.
Yeah.
Okay? It was Raiders of the Lost Ark with zombies. They kept cutting his budget until you got what we made.
And that's awesome, and that's why Quentin Tarantino and George Romero are one of my two favorite directors, because when you're limited budget-wise, that's where your true creativity comes out. Yeah. And just for the whole cast, when it comes to like directors that you guys have actually made movies with, whose budgets might have been limited, where does George Romero actually stand, and what set him apart from all those other directors?
Number one. He's number one for me. And as far as limited budget, it matters that we work together. We shot, and you mentioned Quentin Tarantino. He said something very nice about my work at one point, and said it was one of the best performances he's ever seen. He's talking about Martin. And but when it comes to limited budget and working with George and the people that work with George, we all work together. On Martin, I carried cable, I moved sound equipment, I would do anything. We all jumped in and made it work regardless of what our particular jobs were. And I think that's one of the things that has filtered through all of George's work. The other thing is that every movie George wrote was an original idea. It didn't come from anybody else or anything else except his brilliant brain. And I think that's a big key to making good films, is to have something original and thoughtful, and it always had social content and kept us thinking, So he didn't make slasher movies, he made thoughtful films that commented on the social zeitgeist of the day.
Well, George wasn't just a director, he was a writer-director.
And an editor.
And an editor.
Yeah. And back in the day, that was rare. Things you give it to a director. He takes them.
Yeah.
He adds or subtracts as to making the film, how it works in the present. But George was a writer-director, and he was really in touch with each character he created. And so when it came to Day of the Dead, he wasn't very happy because they got the budget, but he was so in touch with us that he made everything live just right. It was really, really fine.
And he let you improvise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a good idea, do it.
Right.
You go to him with ideas. Yeah, go ahead. That was great fun. Because to let you improvise, because that's you putting yourself into You know, I mean, in the effects, Dawn of the Dead, 80% of the effects we came up with. We just go to George. How about if we drive a screwdriver through this guy's here? Okay, yeah, go ahead. It was fun. It was fun. It was Halloween every night.
He used to tell you to find ways to kill different people.
Oh, well, you know, I was doing a play. I was doing The Lion in Winter in North Carolina. I got a telegram from George. Hey, we got another gig. Start thinking of ways to kill people. And that was Dawn of the Dead.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I have to say George is my first also. And I was in 3 of the films. And he would let you improvise. Like in Day, when Dr. Logan, Richard Liberty, turns out the lights, I whimper, but that wasn't in the script. I just, like as if I'm afraid and feeling guilty. And interestingly too, I did a stage production of that Tarantino wrote of Reservoir Dogs. And I think it's the only one ever approved, that he ever approved of.
Directed by Chris Pataki, is a really good
Right,
theater.
and I was just to say that, Chris, directed by him. And because we knew Greg and Nicotero, who was his special effects guy, we got the blood formula, and he sent us the ear of the policeman who had, in Reservoir Dogs, a policeman gets his ear cut off. And it's about criminals, but they're sort of suburban criminals, and yeah. But it was quite a hit. We played for months on stage. Yeah.
So George, as a writer, in the first film Tom talked about, it was huge. It was up top. It wasn't underground. So he put it underground, and he still wanted the sun. So he created a character that was from the sun, so you could yearn for the sun. This is a great writer and his talent. That's how he makes it work. Really fine.